Buck, thank you so much for taking the time joining us here tonight. And, I got to start with something important. I want to jump right into it because until a few days ago, honestly, I was itching to get down to Port St. Lucie for spring training. But then I heard from you that there was a Florida Panther roaming the backfields, and quite frankly, a lockout doesn't seem that bad at this point in time. Can we get an update on the whereabouts of that big cat?
No, I've been told to shut that down, okay, because we don't all these people showing up in St. Lucie with, let's say, different agendas where the Panthers involved. So I'm trying to save the Panther, okay?
Well, listen,
and the season, if we can get down to St. Lucie.
100%. And listen, Buck, in all seriousness, you are someone who got your first managerial job 30 years ago. And there's so much talk about how the game has changed over the last decade or so, let alone since you first took over with the Yankees in '92. I'm wondering from your perspective how you think you've changed the most, how that manager, that rookie season was different from the manager that you are today.
Oh, I don't know. I hope so. It's about the players. Every situation's a little different. You have to bring, what's needed for that situation. You don't become a prisoner to the past, but you do understand some of the reasons why. I'm here to serve the needs of the players, as is the coaching staff, and sometimes that can be, fatherly love or whatever, tough love, whatever. It comes in a lot of different forms, but. We're here to serve the needs of the players. And if it's important to the players, it better be to you, because we're going to ask, a lot from them to get the return that we're all looking for, especially the fans. So I think we all evolve through the years of things we're exposed to. There's some variables that don't change about things you have to do to be successful in our game. They haven't changed the 90 feet on the bases yet, and the mound, and, the things you have to do to be successful. It's just, we use a lot of the analytics to verify what, our eyes and our gut tells us. So when you can get both those things working together, you usually have a pretty good approach.
Hey, Buck, clubhouse leadership has become a little bit of a topic around the Mets the last couple of years. In your experience, what is the best way to create kind of a healthy winning environment in the clubhouse? Does the players have to do it themselves, or is it kind of incumbent on you, the manager, to kind of set the standard as far as accountability, attitude, playing for each other, those types of things?
Well, I'll tell you, it's like the chicken and the egg, Harp. Do you win first? The short answer is win games. There's very few teams that you've heard about bad chemistry when they're winning games and the last team standing. But at some point, the things that you're hoping, show up on the scoreboard and standings, nobody's got to tell us how we're doing. And, I know Billy and the group that he has around him are very careful about looking at more than just a complete analytical look. It's also, the way a team fits. We play a sport unlike any other. You play almost 200 games, counting most spring trainings, and it's 7 days a week, basically. So, there's certain attributes and certain things you look for when you're trying to get players, whether it be pitchers or, even relief pitchers. Everything is a different mentality. And it is a little different in New York. There's not a corner on pressure there, but there's a sense of urgency that actually I enjoy, because, the fans make the players, accountable for certain things, and it makes it a little easier. But, the chemistry, if you win games and things are showing up on the scoreboard, a lot of that takes care of itself. But, harmony is not the absence of problems, John. It's the ability to deal with them. And we'll have some along the way.
Hey, Buck, I've seen a little bit of your sense of humor in the past. I'm friends with Darren O'Day. He's told me about a prank that you've played on him. But you're known more for your... But you're known more for your honest approach with players, which is the main thing that I respected the most. It was, whether it's good news or bad news, just tell me how it is. Can you talk about your approach with your relationship to players and your just sense of honesty with them?
Sure, you got a couple of innings in you. We're looking for another left-hand. I think you still got some time. But, left-handed and breathing, you got a chance. I just, I think putting yourself in players' shoes, whether you're, you talked to a lot of people in the bullpen about what works, what didn't work, what caused problems, whether it be and then a starter, and then a utility player, a fourth outfielder, a guy that plays every day. You try to, put yourself in their shoes. But I think the one thing that has always come back to me is the unknown is what drives players crazy. I tell them in the spring, hey, you guys want these meetings we have in the morning before we go on the field with the staff? Come on in and sit down. I'm not going to allow you to say something in there that all the players, it's got to be productive. I want coaches that like players. So many people are afraid to like players. I like players. And I just think telling the guys what's coming and what's being said and whether you agree with it or not, this is what's out there. What's the expression, Jerry, that lie to a guy once, he'll never forgive you. If you tell him the truth, sooner or later, you guys will have a good relationship. So I've tried to do that. You also have to be careful about telling truths that hurt innocent people. So part of your job description as a manager is you just wear some things. It's uncomfortable. There's some things you could say that might cast you in a different light, but that's not your job description. You're there to wear some things along the way that is for the betterment of the group.
Buck, you've had so much success over the course of your career. The one thing really missing is that World Series championship. At this stage of your career, with this job in front of you, how much of that is a driving force? How much of chasing that championship is what you get up for and what you get after it for at this point?
Well, in the whole scheme of life, it's not going to define, I tell the players all the time, what kind of father and what kind of husband you are is going to kind of dictate down the line looking back at things. But, professionally speaking, it is something that I'd like to be a part of. I'd love to be the last team standing, and after the third out, go in my office and close the door and listen to people celebrate. I'm kind of at that point in my life. You kind of want to impact people's lives positively, trying to keep them from making some of the mistakes that we all have. But, I wouldn't say, of course it's a driving force to be the last team standing. And every morning I get up thinking about it, what we can do to get a little better, just like Billy Epler and the people he's got around him. And I know, we've eliminated a lot of excuses. Our ownership is strong and supportive. And, it's one of those things you need to quit talking about and show me. And that's going to be what we're going to try to be about in spring training is not a lot of lip service. I think everybody's heard enough of that.
Buck, I know you've said, you've always wanted as much information as you can get. It's just different. It's called analytics now. And but one way the game has changed, it seems like, is that analytics has changed the way relievers are used in terms of the usage they're used in. They call them lanes now, whatever, match it, however you want to match it up. But do you think it's important to establish roles for relievers still, especially in terms of a closer? Or are you more of a guy who might be willing to go day to day and match up depending on what the numbers tell you now?
Well, John, I'd like to say all the above. I'd like to get my arms around. I know looking at it from afar, and whether it's video or analytically, I know what your first impression is. But, the game has a heartbeat. Some things I want to get my hands around and my arms around in the spring. And I kind of at the point now I've heard enough where I just want to kind of make up my own mind and I want our players to know they're getting a fresh start regardless of what's happened, negatively in the past. But I also want to know that I understand the positive things they've done. And I want to just make sure we take in every possible way to win a baseball game. I've asked 10 or 15 times, does this help us win a game when we're talking about something potentially that we want to do? Show me how this is going to help us win a game, because the scoreboard and the standing is going to tell us how we're doing. If it's a little, I can remember a lot of so-called unconditional things that we were doing back in the early 90s, with the on-base percentage. And I don't know, there's not that much really over-the-top new. It's just being termed differently and being embraced and supported by a lot of different facts that we may not have had. There's a lot of things that we went off gut instinct. I remember talking about on-base percentage back in the early 90s and how strong Gene Michael, and we were trying to acquire players with that. And then later on, it was called something called Moneyball all of a sudden, which, was just a Hollywood story. A lot of that Oakland doesn't even embrace anymore. They had these 4 starting pitchers were pretty good too, didn't they? But, we're going to take, you got something you want to bring to me about a better way to do it, I'm all ears. But, it's about embracing everybody and making them feel comfortable to bring what they bring.
Hey, Buck, Todd Zeile here, a little late to the party, sorry. They called me just in time for a reason. Listen, I know you spent some time on that other side of town, the Evil Empire, as I did, and had a very hands-on owner in George Steinbrenner. I was wondering, with Steve Cohen now running the helm with the Mets, do you anticipate any similarities between Cohen, and how do you handle ownership that is so hands-on like Steinbrenner was?
Well, I said at the time, and still do, Todd, a lot of people would love to have an owner that was that into it and into winning every day. Let's win something today, so to speak. And whether it's be painting the dugout properly, whatever. And I can't tell you I know Steve that well. His reputation within the organization is outstanding. People are just raving about the things that he's brought to the table. And it's an excuse that's eliminated. I've had first of all, he owns the club. Whether if we're getting ready to do something that impacts little things like travel or how we dress or present ourselves or whatever, yeah, it's his club. And for the most part, I haven't had a whole lot of dealings with him since we came to agreement, because I know he's got a lot of irons in the fire, and he's been very supportive of Billy and everything that we're trying to do, where we can hit the ground with our feet running or moving quickly when this thing breaks. But I welcome his involvement, because I have a lot of confidence in things that we're going to be doing, and I think the more that he's aware of it, I think the more confidence he'll have.
Well, Todd, welcome to the show. Buck, good job rolling with the punches there, and we appreciate your time. We'll leave it right there. Buck Showalter, manager of the New York Mets. Thank you so much yet again, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. Like maybe next week. That would be great.
God bless. You guys take care. Come see us.